Hello, everybody. Happy Friday night. Welcome to Cantina Cocktail Hour. It is great to see everybody who is with us so far. So, hello. Happy Friday. Good evening. Welcome to all our friends who are in here so far. Hello, 3DPO Customs. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in here and hanging out with us. Jacob, nice to see you as well. We got Paul in the house. Hey, Paul, how's it going? We have Pico B1. Pico B1, good to see you too. Jason, great to see you as well. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us, you guys. So really excited. We're going to have in a moment Anthony from the Imperial Communique on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. One of the most magnificent army builders that I have ever seen. And he's been on our show before. And we've podcasted as well on the Vintage Collection podcast. So he'll be coming in just a moment. So thanks to everybody who's coming in and hanging out with us. So super stoked. All right, let's see. Is he here? It certainly looks like he is joining us now. Anthony, how's it going? Maybe. Well, I think we lost him. This is what I love about live streams is that they're so spontaneous and things can happen, right? Flexibility, right? We got to be flexible. Technology, anything can happen. We're live, right? So, all right, let's try again.
Hey everybody. It's going all right.
Cool. Good to see you. Love the banner.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Thanks for coming back in. I'm really looking forward to talking. We have a brand new trailer to talk about. We have some new vintage collection that has been hitting shipping in the last week or so, a couple of things. And yeah, some of our good friends are in here. Jurassic Dave is here. Hey, Dave, how's it going? And yeah, how you been?
Oh, it's just been busy, a lot going on. Work and a lot of toys coming out that keeps everybody busy. It's great. Yeah,
totally. Well, right on. Are you drinking anything tonight?
Oh man, I wish no, not.
I
failed to.
I
know. I just came from a meeting and I had a drink there, but I just didn't have time.
Well, we'll give you a pass because of your huge army that you have. Right on. Well, I have an old fashioned that I put together a little while ago. So I'm enjoying that. Delicious. So cheers or virtual cheers or.
I might have some wine in the kitchen. I just can't remember.
Might. Right on. Well, we're glad that you're here. Thanks for coming on. And it's been a while since we've done one of these, right? I think I had you on last summer or somewhere around there.
Yeah. It wasn't quite as live. So now I'm officially nervous.
Hey, like I was saying a moment ago, it's live, right? It's technology. We got to be flexible with it because we never know what's going to happen when you're live. Like a giant piano could just fall on my head right now, and we're live. It could happen. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but you just never know. Just never know. Nova Recluse, hello. How are you? Thank you for joining in with us once again. So very cool. So I assume that you've been receiving shipments from Walmart as of late. In fact, I've seen on your Instagram that you have been receiving some stuff from Walmart in various stages of condition.
Yes. Yeah. Like everybody else. Like it's just astounding that each figure gets packed in different ways. Like, and here's the thing. And this is going to bum some people out. I over ordering. So it forces them to ship it in a box. So if I order 4, the odds are better that I get in a box, and I still get them in padded envelopes. So that's crazy.
It's like Forrest Gump said, Walmart's like a box of chocolates. You're never going to know what you're going to get until it gets there.
Right.
So it's so hit and miss. You can order 20 of a given figure, and you might get one of them in good condition. You might get all of them in good condition. You just never know. That's the thing. It could be the same order. Some will ship in bags. Some will ship in boxes, even though it's the same order. So it's just weird.
And the box sizes are different. It
Mhm.
still drives me nuts when they have a box
Mm.
that's just barely big enough to fit a carded figure in, and they throw 10 of them in. It's like, man, it's like, yeah, just insane.
Very, very frustrating for sure. And this isn't anything new, right? This has been
Right.
going on as long as Walmart has had exclusives. And it's not just a Walmart thing, to be fair. It does happen with Target sometimes, happens with Amazon, but not on the level that we see with Walmart and have seen historically. So I did do a video about this last year, and it was called Walmart We Need to Talk or something to that effect. And it was basically, explaining, how is it that some of the things that they were shipping when I did that video, like you had to actually go out of your way to make them look so damaged. Like you had to actually go out of your way to fold them and make them like fit into a tiny little box.
Right.
So I haven't had anything quite like that this time, but I have ordered a bunch extra just to try to ensure that I receive some in acceptable condition. And thankfully, at this point, they went back in stock, right? These Micro Series Clone Wars figures.
Right.
I ordered some
After
more.
I
Mhm.
traded for the one that I got shortchanged, like one of them was a Luminar Unduli, like it just went to like delayed status or something like
Yeah.
that, or it showed that it was arriving today, but there was no sign of it. And I called, and they said, yeah, it apparently they over ordered, and you're not getting yours. And I like,
Mm.
I was like, somehow I don't completely trust that information. They wanted me to cancel the order. I said, don't cancel the order. And I was wondering if the same thing was going to happen the last couple times, which was, like at the day or two afterwards, they would all go in stock, which is exactly what happened. But I placed a new order just to guarantee that I was going to get some. I had traded for some, so I'm getting those trades in, and then the original order came. So
Oh, wow.
so I'm awash with Luminar Undulis or
It's
Unduli.
tough because you get these in, right? They're pre-orders and they sold out, I think, that day or, very close to it when they went up for pre-order, last June or July, whenever it was. And then here we are receiving them and they're in this damaged condition. You can't just go back because they're not in stock at that point.
Right.
So all we can really do is trade, right? Thankfully, you and I know some awesome people in this community and we're able to make trades and get what we need. But then it is, you just never know, because they may not very well have not gone back in stock. Like the Amazon exclusive Bad Batch 4-pack has not gone back in stock. So you just never know. It's a gamble, right? And
Right.
I read a really good article that my friend Chris from Bantha Skull put on their website this morning.
Chris is great. I love Chris.
Yeah, he's incredible. Bantha Skull is one of the foremost authorities on Star Wars: The Vintage Collection, and in his article he stated that exclusives are good for the Vintage Collection line. I know nobody likes to have to deal with, will I get it? Will I miss the pre-order? Do I need to take off a little bit of time from work to secure it? How are they going to come in? Will the order get canceled? There's all these variables. But he made a point that, these are good for the line because they show that the retailers like Walmart have the confidence to fund, to front the money for these figures that we would not otherwise get in the main line. So we need the exclusives. It is an indication, I feel like, from what he was saying, of a healthy Star Wars toy line. But there have to be some ways to ensure that we don't need to order 20 Luminar and Dualies in order to get one good one.
Right. I know. And then the only the other weird consequence, which is actually kind of fun, is because I have a collecting group here. It's just three. There's three of us, but every time an exclusive comes, we're always like trying to help each other out, and we're always commiserating about like, oh, I got this, I didn't get that, and and it's a unexpected side effect, which is a good thing because it helps us all bond a little bit. Just getting in there in the trenches. Did you get it? Did you get it? All right, I got extra. I could help you out.
Yeah, totally. So Chris's suggestion in his article was that Walmart or Hasbro rather hold back a certain allotment to later make available on Pulse and or through the fan channels. And I think that makes complete sense. I know that the fan channels thing has always been a little murky as to what they have access to and what they don't. I think Hasbro's messaging has been a little conflicting at times, saying that, if something is an exclusive to a retailer, then it's intended to be an exclusive to that retailer. And then sometimes you see things that do end up at the fan channels months down the line. So it's been kind of, they've been saying, a little bit on both sides, and it's become a little confusing. But I think that Chris's idea makes the most sense, right? If you're holding back 10% of your production, then certainly that is something you can reserve for those collectors who are carded collectors who do want to go back and try and secure more pristine samples. We'll see. I mean, this is something we've been talking about for ages, I feel like, so I don't know if anything will actually change, but I think that was a fair suggestion, and I think that would be the ideal if possible.
Yeah, either that or what some of the fan channels do. And I hate to make the suggestion because it could cost more, but they could do a collector grade type deal where some of the stuff just comes, in a slips, a nice plastic case or something like that. Might cost an extra $1 or $2, but I like that idea because it guarantees you at least one mint one.
That would be nice. I know they're moving away from plastic. I know that they made this a big initiative that I don't know how it's going to affect the vintage collection. I did a whole podcast episode about that with my friend Tyler from SWTVC on Instagram. They got the bracket going right now, so if you're doing the bracket, that's March Madness. But yeah,
I voted.
Nice, I did too. Time for Tonica, you guys. Yeah, so it's annoying if nothing else, right? To have to deal with, but Chris made it another good point that based on the polling that they've conducted through the Vintage Collection Facebook group, probably less than half of the respondees indicated that they collected carded. So most people do buy loose. And those that buy carded oftentimes, as we know, buy multiples of both carded and loose. So, it's a tricky thing. I mean, because we're not like Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends, I would say, it's fair to say, outsells any of these Star Wars lines at this point, which isn't a bad thing. It's just kind of what it is. But yeah, there's things that we see, things that we don't, things behind the scenes that are going on. But I think certainly withholding 10% of the allotment would go a long way in helping a lot of us out. So hopefully they can figure something out. Again, these problems have been going on a long time, and it's going to be a while until we see some sort of resolution to it. But fingers crossed, anything can change at any time, of course. So we'll see. All right. So let's see who's joined us in. So Pico B1 for a single barrel whiskey for my birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Pico B1. That's awesome. And similarly, you say you're bummed out you didn't get more of the blue one. Yeah, so the blue arc, that is the one that when they did go back in stock sold out, right? Like pretty quickly.
Right.
Like I would have ordered a couple more, but they by the time I knew about it, they had sold out.
Yeah, there's only one that was like really new. I mean, the red one has some variations from what came out before, and everybody else is a bit of a repaint. But the blue one, sure, yeah, that. I don't see how anyone could not see it just going immediately.
Yeah, that's the one, the blue one. Action figure expert, how are you doing? I'm doing well. How are you doing, action figure expert? Thanks for coming on in. 3DPO Customs, passed on the Bad Batch set. Didn't expect it to be a pain to get. Yeah, I missed out on it entirely. This is one of those things where they announced it. Like they do everything Hasbro time, right? East Coast time, and that's like really early here on the West Coast. I know you know this full well, Anthony. But yeah, so I think they announced it like at 6 a.m, and then they actually put a pre-order like 2 hours later. And by the time I woke up, that day it was already like past that. So I completely didn't know. I completely missed it. And it's thanks to the people in the community that I was able to secure a couple of those sets. Thanks to Brett from Bantha Skull, who was kind enough to help me out, as well as, again, Tyler from Star Wars Vintage Collection Instagram, SWTBC, sent me one that just got here today. So I have a couple of those now, thanks to their help. So again, awesome people in this community. We help each other out, and, so important, right? Otherwise, we would just completely miss out on things sometimes.
Yeah, Jeff Omania on Instagram, he's one of my close collecting buddies. I would miss out on half the stuff if it wasn't for him, because he's checking out things more religiously than I am, and it's like, text the group, like, oh, the such and such going on sale at 2 hours.
I know it's so easy to miss this stuff if you're not able to be glued to your phone. I mean, which I'm not. Like, I mean, like I was mentioning, they do a lot of things East Coast time, for one, and two, I'm working the whole day. So
yeah, I'm always at work. Like, I still specifically remember these exclusives, these Walmart, the Clone Wars exclusives. I still specifically remember being on the 118, going up to location, and getting text messages. They're up, and I'm like, I'm on the freeway. Okay, I'm gonna pull over, and try to get the order in real quick.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. It can be frustrating, especially when they say it's going to go up at 10 a.m. and then it doesn't. You got to keep refreshing for 15 minutes until it does, and then finally, like, you know what, I got to get back to work, and then you check, half hour later, and it's like, oh, it went up and it sold out in 10 minutes. Like, yeah, that just happened to me not so long ago with that Target exclusive Boba Fett from Book of Boba Fett that they have. So I missed that. Another thing I missed. So Paul says, what about the possibility of droids Boba not making it to Target? So this is another thing that Bantha Skull wrote about. It was just hypothetical. It's as it is right now, most of those orders have not been canceled. So that's a good indication that, at this point, that they still plan for them to come. I ordered a couple from Europe just to be safe. Boba and R2D2. I ordered them from a friend who was able to help me out. So I wanted to be safe. I still have my pre-orders in my Target. I hope that they come through. But this is just insurance in case they don't. If they change SWDVC packaging, it will kill the line. So yeah, we did a podcast episode about this. And yeah, the vintage collection harkens back to the classic Kenner aesthetic that is timeless. If you alter it drastically, it's no longer the vintage collection. You're moving away from that. So
I even have reservations with the little doohickeys that they put on, like 50th, 50th Lucasfilm anniversary and all that stuff. All those changes, I'm still like, is it really that vintage? So I get it, but it's still like, I want my vintage to be vintage.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of those logos either. I mean, I kind of learned to ignore them, so I don't really see them anymore. But I think, at the time, some of us had stickers on the bubble would have been ideal, because then if you don't like them, you just peel them off. But
they're great figures. The figures keep evolving, and they just keep getting better and better. And it's the artwork is always beautiful. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's just those pictures. It's still like, I'm transported back to when I was, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, that's the thing. The figures do get better. It doesn't matter what the packaging is. They could ship them in a paper bag, and the figures get better. You're going to get better figures. But that kind of defeats the purpose of TVC. It's purposely called the vintage collection because of the cards. And if you do away with the bubbles, what do you call that? It's a completely different thing. So I certainly hope that they make an exception there. I think they were a little, they kind of jumped the gun by committing to eliminating all plastic in packaging by 2023 or whenever it was, 2020. I forget, was it later this maybe? I think what they should have done was use the vintage collection as an example to say, look how little plastic this packaging uses. That's our goal for our brand. I think they should have done that. That way you give the TVC a pass, and then you get rid of packaging everywhere else. but I don't work at Hasbro, so
Right.
yeah. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but we'll see. They're not going to put glass bubbles, though. I can tell you that they're not going to do glass. 3DPO Customs. Same with droids here. So I missed the Boba figure because I'm in South Dakota, maybe, and it went up at like 5 a.m. Yeah, it's yeah, frustrating. And again, Star Killer bought the droids Boba Fett today. They have them on shelves in stock at Big W in Australia, which is like Walmart here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm glad that they're making a lot of these exclusives available in other countries, because for a long time that was not the case. It was almost impossible to get a lot of these things in Europe, to get them in Australia, to get them in, wherever. So I'm glad that they're making it a little easier in some respects.
Yeah, I still remember the forum days trying to help out, folks in the UK and all that with a lot of these exclusives. And yeah, I'm glad that that's turned around.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, but these figures are cool. I mean, we've been talking about packaging for the last, 10, 15 minutes. What about the actual figures? So these are basically reused, right? These
Right.
date back to figures as long as, a decade ago?
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, like the clones, the ARC Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say about the figures, though, in this wave? Because I know that when this wave was announced, the hype was unreal for this wave. And even though they're older figures, even though they're based on the Micro Series, which is Legends now, basically.
Look, I think these mostly hold up. Was it? I have her right here. How do you say alias Sakura?
Ayla Sakura.
I swear I'm not drinking tonight. My mouth is not working. It's a great figure. It still has the articulated hips and really posable. They're still pretty solid. The only update they sorely need to do, and I can see why it would be, it's tough, is the battle droid. The battle droid is just, it feels like they could do more with the battle droid. I'm sure it's just the material is what's holding it back from, being able to have articulated wrists and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do find that this latest battle droid stands better. Like, I don't know if they changed the plastic ingredients for the legs, but yeah, the wrists not bending are super annoying, because when they're holding their gun, they just look weird. Like they can't hold it right.
And why'd they take out the slot to hold the blaster? That was a great feature.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Why? Why do you not know?
I know, right? We still need a definitive battle droid, like, for sure. Yeah, and once they do it, it can have all the articulation in the world, but if it cannot stand, if it cannot hold its weapons, it's not going to really matter.
Right.
So that's something I hope they can get figured out. I agree with you. The Jedi are great. They still hold up. The only one that's annoying is Luminara, because her headdress always falls off.
Yeah.
When you move her.
Yeah.
That is super annoying.
Well, I can't remember. They didn't come with the capes though last time, right? I don't think they did. With the robes.
Yes, they did.
Oh.
They did. Ayla did have the robe the first time around. I think the color is different now because it's more based on the Micro Series. Which I kind of feel like that was a little bit of a weird aspect to this way, because they purposefully painted the ARC Troopers to look animated, but they did that for the others too, but they didn't animate really the head sculpts. So you see this animated look, cartoon on the packaging, and then the figure is realistic. So I kind of feel like in this case, I would have made the exception to get like more of an animated looking head, just to make it different. But that's just me. I'm probably alone on that island.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's like it could go either way. I mean, I like the realistic look just to be consistent, and I can incorporate them well enough into the collection. Animation has its place, but I'm happy with the realistic look.
Yeah, totally. But no, it's a great wave, really solid. I'm really happy to have it, and it's fun. It's fun. I have a lot of nostalgia for the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, because that was like, we didn't have the Clone Wars at that time, right? This was like the first animations based in like the modern, at the time, prequel era. And it was just a lot of fun. Those episodes were a lot of fun and had some really cool stuff. I actually set up those clones. I don't know if you can see them. They're right here with the gunship. So I have my Munilist tent set up there on the shelf. And yeah, I just love that whole thing. And I'm glad that they're not, not doing those figures, because it's nice to have a little bit of love for that series once again. Hopefully we get more.
I'm sure whichever figure that they could just rehash and recard.
Yeah, because there are others that were in that micro series that I know people would want to see. We still need a definitive Ki Mundi. We still need, they could bring back a Volvith Mon, who was the from 30th anniversary collection. He was the like the Wolfman Jedi.
Right.
There's also
Mace Windu. They definitely do Mace Windu.
Yeah, they certainly could. They did one in 6-inch, right? So I mean, they could certainly do it in for TVC as well. And yeah, there's certainly different Jedi they could bring back, and that would fit into this format. I know that some people missed some of them early on because they were hard to get, but yeah, I'd love to see it continue.
Yeah. Look, you slap Star Wars on a action figure, I'm a sucker.
Totally. So the Amazon pack, did you say you were able to get that one?
I was. I initially ordered, and this is my OCD. I got 3 because I got to keep 1 in a box, and then I was hoping to open a set, and then I was hoping to have like a cart, like open another box and just have the carded ones and put them in with my carded collection. But
You're just like me.
Yeah. But my one buddy ended up not being able to order it. So it's, I got to, I help him out. So we have a ton of trades. We haven't seen each other since before COVID. We have a bag of stuff of his that we got to go and do trades. But, so it's like, all right, well, I'm short a pack. I can't quite do that goal. So what do I do? Not open one, or, it's like, first world problems, like, what do I do now? But, yeah, but there, it's, and look, it's, I want to open them. They're great looking figures, but I want the Bad Batch. I want Hunter and Crosshair. It's a weird choice.
It was an easy choice because they already had the sculpts and they just needed to repaint them. So, how do we make another exclusive that's going to sell out? Just repaint these figures from a decade ago. Yeah, I mean, I it's time for a new clone mold. I've mentioned this to Hasbro in the Q&As. Like I've said, hey, the Clone Trooper is a popular thing. You guys have updated the Stormtrooper. You have these new multi-packs that you're doing. Can we get a new Clone Trooper? And they've said it's not impossible. But the fact that the 501st Trooper is coming back soon and it's still on the old molds, it's like kind of like.
Yeah, I was going to ask, well, what's different about it? It's slightly different paint, and then the head sculpt is updated, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Someday, I hope. We really need a new. I mean, this is a decade old, and it's not the worst. It's just that proportionately, it looks weird. The helmet is so big, and could be better.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the very first one that came out in the Clone Wars line, just a tad chunky, but it's great. I mean, it's like that. I mean, just such a. It was like so innovative when it came out, just because it was awesome. And then when they redid it, it's too skinny. So they got to find that happy medium.
Right. Yeah. So, that Revenge of the Sith super articulated Clone Trooper from 2005, to me that's still like my default, like in my displays. To me that's still like the best overall clone, because it looks more just like more realistic, really, right? And the sculpt is, I would say, just as good as the vintage collection one, but without like the natural like anorexic proportions. So yeah, we still need a new one. It's time. They could do wonders with the Clone Trooper that they didn't do before. So
I'd love to be a fly in the wall when they're approving the sculpts and the molds. It's like I just wonder if there's somebody in the room who's kind of going like, yeah, it's good, but it's not good enough. Just
Right.
people
Yeah.
got to make those decisions.
Mhm.
And give the thumbs up, and that there's about some nerds in there too who are just like, yeah, you're gonna get complaints.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like these vintage collection figures, the original 96 they bring back just to check off, on the list, like Princess Leia Endor.
Yeah.
They gave her a new head. Tusken Raider, they gave a new elbows, and the hands that break off.
Right.
um, and Han Solo, they didn't do anything to Han Solo really. Again, photo real Endor Han Solo.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
it's
Nick is still too
convenience.
weird.
It's the figure needs to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the whole figure.
Yeah.
Um, it's just one of those things. I believe that, as collectors, we're patient, right? We've been doing this for I'm sure you've been doing it for a lot longer than I have. I started collecting in 96 and it's been nonstop since then. But we're patient, right? We can wait, 5-10 years for them to give us a figure. We just want it to be as best as it can possibly be. Um, and the fact that they are releasing Endor Leia with the new head, but it's still that 2006 body that doesn't have articulated wrists, to me is it's just kind of unacceptable. I feel like
Mhm.
I'd rather wait for them to properly budget it into 2023, 24, 25. I don't care as long as they do that figure the right way, and I'll never need another one again. I
Mhm.
think that'd be superior to just getting an inferior one and just having to keep hoping that someday they'll get around to fixing it.
Right. What did you feel about the Luke, uh the Power of the Force Luke on the regular Return of the Jedi card that did not have a removable helmet?
The Endor Luke. Yeah, that one I felt was solid. That one I felt was solid. Um, and it's a weird thing because there's not an exact science to it. There are some figures that I think would work today that could have been back from 2006. Cantina aliens. There's
Hmm.
some of those prequel aliens, bounty hunters. Certain things still hold up. So it's not an exact science. It's not to say they need to go back and redo everything, but they need to look at certain things with regards to original 96 and with regards to main characters that are especially important to people.
Hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, especially those 96.
Yeah, because once they check off that list, they're probably, I mean, what are the chances of them going back and doing them again?
Well, if they were, I wouldn't want to say if they were smart, they could definitely redo the Endor Han. It's fine to have it on the card and kind of check it off some of that list, but the actual figure in and of itself, definitely needs some more loving.
Yes. Yeah, totally. As for the Bad Batch, I don't know when or if we will get those. Um, I mean, now that the figures exist in the Bad Batch, even though they're not the Bad Batch, they're still from the Bad Batch, right? Now that those figures exist, I think it's almost like a can of worms type thing. It's are you going to go back and do Hunter and Omega and um, all the other ones that they have, Tech, Wrecker, Echo? Are they going to do all of those? Maybe, maybe not. I think, but the fact that they went down that kind of they opened the gates to that with Bad Batch figures, it kind of forces their hand a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's not like Rebels, or they haven't touched Rebels in TVC at all.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the main thing. Once they do release a figure with that Rebels logo on it, people are going to start wondering, when do we get Ezra? When do we get Kanan? When do we get Hera? When do we get all these characters? And for them, I think it's just, probably I think the hesitancy is because they don't want to have people to have expectations that maybe aren't
Mm.
realistic, or that, because we know that without like a HasLab or something, we're not going to get the full Bad Batch or the full Rebels crew for 5 years. It's going to take a long time.
Well, and I just wonder from the business side too, because there's definitely a lag in terms of when a character is developed and to being on screen and getting to our shelves so we could buy. And it's like, I mean, my gut feeling is the Bad Batch is somewhere in the works, that we'll get them at some point, and because they have the 6-inch mold, they're able to do that. I just don't know why it wouldn't translate down to the TVC. It's like just it just astounds me. Just shrink the mold. I know it's not as simple as that, but yeah.
It's I know we've asked him this in the Q&As too, where other people have asked him, like, you have these digital sculpts. What is the possibility of shrinking them down? And they have said before that it's complicated, basically, because they do have to manipulate the different points of articulation. They need to make certain adjustments on the actual sculpts to fit the proportions. So, I know that they have a process for doing that. And I think probably what it boils down to more than anything else is just the tooling, the expense of having to create these giant tools for these tiny little figures, that are 3¾ inches. Putting that in production and meeting, minimum orders and stuff. So, I'd love to see this line continue to get more funding. I'd love to see it continue to grow. And I think, what we've seen in recent years has been very promising with how great the figures are looking, with the fact that we're getting more new stuff and more exclusives and more things like the Razor Crest that have actually happened. But I think what it's going to boil down to is, what is the confidence level that the retailers have if they're going to be throwing their money at TBC, at Hasbro, and say, hey, we want more and more and more of this. And then if that confidence is there, if Hasbro has that confidence to say, hey, these stores are serious, they're going to pay, all this money if we increase the size of these lines, then I think we'll see it happen. But I think we need to get there first. All right, so let's see what is going on here in the chat. So Starkiller says clone mold will get used a stack of clone characters, making their money back easily. Yeah, they really need to update that sculpt. I mean, there's no other way around that. New Chrysanthemum, yeah. So I hope so. In the latest episode of the Vintage Collection podcast, I was talking with Chris, and we ran down our top 10 list of the top 10 figures from the Book of Boba Fett we wanted to see. And we put Chrysanthemum at 2, I believe, is where he was. And these were figures that we think, in not just figures, but other things too, that we feel are reasonable and that we felt would do well at retail if they did release them. So he was at number 2. I think we'll see Chrysanthemum.
He's a great character too. It's like, so, I mean, I immediately there was buzz, afterwards. Everybody was so psyched about it, and people were already doing their own sculpts at home.
Yeah, that's true. And they look phenomenal. When I see these customs, it's like, whoa.
Oh yeah.
Like, whoa. Yeah. LBT, hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining in here. Cool guy. Hopefully they don't kill like the Marvel Infinite line. Yeah, I remember that line. That was a cool line.
They're great figures. I look at them all the time when I'm out shopping for Star Wars toys, and it's like, man, if I just can't quite justify picking them up, but they're phenomenal. If I was a kid again, I would definitely be like, Mom, Dad, I want my Marvel figures.
Totally. So Justin says we need a new Star Wars that grabs the younger generations again. I feel like they've tried that multiple times, and I think they just need to make good Star Wars is more than anything else. Is just keep the quality there, keep it consistent, appeal to everybody, but they every now and then they try different things with it, right? I mean, they're a company, they want to be successful. They're going to try different things. 3DPO Custom says on Disney Plus, there's an episode of Hasbro prototype designs figures. Good way to get insight. Yeah, that was pretty cool to see as well. Mile High Ground, how's it going? Good to see you here, Evan.
Hey.
Evan was kind enough to help me out with getting an additional ARC Trooper. We were talking about the Clone Wars micro series earlier, and that's one of the ones that he helped me out with. So awesome. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, like I was saying a moment ago, just the improvements we've seen, over the last few years have been pretty significant, even if they seem, marginal in a lot of ways. So I think it's promising. I think we'll continue to see expansion. I mean, with all the content that's coming, I think that's a good
Yeah.
indicator that people are going to want more product across the board, whether you're a hardcore collector, whether you're like a softer core collector, whether you're a casual collector. I think that there's going to be demand for products, and if we have good characters and we have more content, people are going to want more from those. So I think we'll gradually see an increase in product.
Well, that's the encouraging thing. There's like really good Star Wars on the air. That helps. It's just creating a buzz. I mean, it's like the Obi-Wan trailer was like phenomenal. I mean, it's like I'm just so psyched that just this quality of Star Wars is coming out. Just great storytelling, great visuals, just really solid. And that's helping a lot. That's helping a lot for everybody to be for excitement about collecting.
Yeah, that's for sure. The excitement and the hype around Star Wars right now is off the charts. Everybody is excited, and I think a lot of people have come on board with the content we've gotten in recent years. The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. There's so much Star Wars stuff, and there's people that knew nothing about Star Wars that are on board because of The Mandalorian. I mean, it has done so much for bringing in kids or bringing in older folks. People know who Grogu is, Baby Yoda, everywhere. Like he's just like, he's an icon. I know a lot of us collectors can be a little bit annoyed sometimes with the level of merchandise we get for Grogu, but that's like a godsend for Star Wars merchandising.
But you know what? And I was putting in because I'm working on my next on my Razor Crest video, and just I'm putting in little sound bites because Grogu pops up every once in a while. I was trying to take sound and put Grogu, like Grogu noises when he pops up on the screen, and it's forced me to rewatch just little scenes, and I'm like still looking. I'm like, this is one of those things where I don't know how much of an accident or how much by design, but man, it's just it's a brilliant hook for the show. And on paper, it seems like it's actual Yoda, where it's sort of like you don't know whether it's going to work or not, but the character is just so charming and pulled off so well. And that dichotomy between like having this cold hunter taking this innocent thing, creature under his wing. So it's just sort of like, it just really appeals to everybody. And it was a genius move on Favreau and Filoni's part to create that character.
Yeah, it totally paid off. And, it's paying dividends now with all the, people that have come back to Star Wars and gotten back into it. And those who are new to Star Wars. I know a lot of my students, they're 8, 9 years old. They love Star Wars, and a lot of them, their introduction to it was The Mandalorian. So it's just cool to see, the different generations, supporting the content the way that we're seeing it lately. Very cool. And,
exciting times.
Exciting, very exciting times. So Evan says progress is slow and frustrating, but there's definitely a lot of reasons for happy beeps these days. Yeah, totally. And in terms of the TVC, yeah. It is gradual, and we've seen these things come and go, right? You have things like the special edition, the prequel trilogy, and these things come in waves. But Star Wars is pretty consistent. It's a generational thing for a reason, because so many people adore it across the globe. And I think people are always going to come back to Star Wars when the content is there, when they have things to buy. And I think people just the outrageousness you're seeing with TVC in terms of pre-orders selling out, in terms of people jumping from Black Series to Vintage Collection, in terms of just the sheer amount of things that are selling through and selling out, is a really strong indicator for what's possible. And I think that's what has me more excited than anything else in regards to the Vintage Collection, Anthony, is that they've been making leaps and bounds in terms of the technology and producing these little works of art at the 3 3/4 inch scale, that if they continue to invest in it and the demand is there for it, I think the sky's the limit in what's possible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, at some point, maybe about 20 years time, they're going to start selling with little motors in, so they'll walk by themselves. I say that
That would
as a
be
joke, but
interesting.
I'll bet you that it's coming.
As long as they don't make them app only figures where you have to go to
Yeah.
the app and that's the only way you
Well,
you set up a
yeah, but you
diorama.
figure, that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Super
I
Sora
mean,
says,
no, go
go
ahead.
for it.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just saying, like, it's like, yeah, it just makes me happy. I mean, again, for as much as like this hobby is that we all take part of, it's just like doing some photography, and with me and the stormtroopers, when it's a good sculpt and you could sit down and take a picture with an iPhone and manipulate it, that you have to kind of
Mm,
double check to see whether it's a toy or whether it's an actual photo or not.
mm.
That's just truly amazing. You could
So
definitely pull it off with the 6 inch, because 6 inch obviously has more detail, but when you can do it in the 3 3/4 inch, I mean, that's just amazing, and I love it.
truly, absolutely. So Super Source Rex says, unfortunately, I think action figures are trending down as they go to toy for kids. So again, I have students that are 8, 9 years old. I pulled them on this a few months ago because obviously I want to know what are their preferences. So the poll was, would you rather play video games or play with toys? And it was split down the middle. Half of them said they'd rather play with toys. Half of them said they'd rather play video games. Most of the ones that said they'd rather play with toys were girls. So there's still a lot of kids, I think, that enjoy toys. I know that mine are always showing me, hey, look what I got. I got the new this or the new that. And so there's still a market for it. And I think, if kids like the characters, they're going to want toys of them. And I think that's how you see Baby Yoda everywhere still. Justin says, when they changed the points of articulation was the major killer. Those figures would have been like the previous released ones. I think collectors would have bought the heck out of the new lines before the return of vintage collection. Yeah, so certainly possible. I mean, they've made a lot of choices with this regards to the 3 3/4 inch line that I think have come to the detriment of the entirety of the Star Wars action figure brand. But I guess at this point, that's water under the bridge, right? It's happened, those choices with 5POA and moving away from TVC into a Walmart exclusive line as the Black Series 3 3/4 to moving back into TVC as, repacks that had just been released in the Walmart, 3 3/4. I think they've made a lot of things, but that's kind of history at this point. I think the big thing right now that Hasbro should focus on is, what lessons did we learn from making these choices? And, where can we go from here? You have all this content that's coming, you have all these people that are buying our stuff. You have these retailers that are shelling out a lot of money to carry our exclusives, carry our stuff as exclusives. What can we do to continue to expand and grow this line? And I think if they look at it from that perspective, we're going to continue to see things like the Razor Crest, where we'll continue to see things like the upcoming Jabba's Palace, throne room set. We'll continue to see things like the engineering, marvels we're seeing with things like Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars season 7 and Darth Maul from season 7 and some of the latest stuff, Bo-Katan. I mean, the stuff's been off the charts lately, and that's what has me more excited than anything else. Like I was saying a moment ago, is just what's possible.
Yeah.
So I hope that the takeaway is where can we go from where we're at now, and throw the budget at it. Throw the budget at it.
Right. I mean, look at the skiff. I mean, it's like, I still remember, when that came out, and this is a phenomenal toy. I mean, it's like they just keep putting out stuff like that. It's, or at least to me, it really appeals to me. It's I don't know the younger generation and if they get as excited, but as an adult, just seeing these little engineering works of art, it's like it just makes me excited.
It is. And, I appreciate them more as an adult than I did back in the 90s, when I was a kid buying Power of the Force 2. At that point, it's because I loved Star Wars and I loved having, little figures and vehicles of those characters. But, as an adult, I mean, they look at them now, like those are terrible as Power of the Force figures, right?
Yeah.
But like as an adult, that's what I appreciate about him is that, Hasbro has said basically, this is a collector oriented line. We know that this is collectors that are buying most of this stuff. and they're treating it accordingly. They're pricing it accordingly too, but they're treating it accordingly by manufacturing things that are of a higher standard. And I think that, I really, at this point in my life, that's what I like seeing, how far can they take this technology of a little 3/4 inch plastic figure? How far can they take that and go from where they started, 40 years ago and to where they are now? Like, just seeing that evolution and seeing what they're doing is what I really appreciate at this point.
Yeah, and I think, what, as frustrated as we are about the decisions that are being made behind the scenes, there's the corporate side, but we also have to remember that the people making these toys they're nerds just like us, and they just, unfortunately, they're stuck with limitations on what their budgets allow them to do, or what the higher ups say that they could get away with. Because I know you've chatted with a bunch of the people down at Comic Cons. Like, it's like you talk with them, they're just like, they're as excited as us to have them and make them and buy them and all that. So I think something that the community needs to keep in mind too when we're complaining about, like lack of availability of certain things. They're nerds like us.
They're nerds like us, and you're one of those people I've chatted at Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, that I totally agree. Good point here by Paul. Certainly hit that like button. That makes the live stream pop up more in people's feeds, and which helps us because we want people to be as passionate as we are about these topics. And so please, we appreciate that. Thank you, Paul, for that reminder there. K2 Benz, do you think that Hasbro is just not interested to expand the vintage line just past just carded figures? Like, how does Lego have Mando new ship ready for release? So I was talking to Chris from Bantha School about this the other day when we were recording our podcast episode on top 10 things you want to see from the Book of Boba Fett. And, he made a good point. I was like, hey, they're coming out with the brand new, Lego's coming out with a brand new Mandalorian modified N1 Starfighter. Why, when are we going to get that in TVC? And he said, well, they're just blocks. They're just blocks. They just have to figure out how to arrange them to make that shape. And yes, they do sometimes have to manufacture specific pieces to work with them. But by and large, they're made up of these little blocks. It's just a matter of how do we put them together to make this shape. So that's completely different from the tooling investment that Hasbro would have to do in order to create something that's a brand new tool. If you're thinking about a vehicle that's going to be, this long and, like this wide, that's not cheap. They have to be confident that, plenty of people are going to want to buy that product. And I think once Mando season 3 comes around and we see him flying around in this thing more and more, I think that demand is just going to go up. So I know I want it now. I would have bought it, the day of that episode coming out. But unfortunately, that's not the realistic way that these things work. These companies, they are in for the money, right? They're in for the profit, and they have to make sure that these investments make sense.
Yeah, for sure. But again, and I think it's the Phantom Menace that probably gave Hasbro / Kenner the cold feet too, because it was they overproduced, and they had a gluttony of product that was just basically unsold and going on clearance. So they're definitely taking a more conservative approach in terms of what's getting released and how much is getting released, because they don't want to take a bath on things again.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think, with regards to the vintage collection specifically, like we were saying, like the technology in creating these figures and vehicles is at a level it's never been before. I think anybody would agree with that. In terms of sculpting, in terms of likenesses, in terms of photoreal, in terms of articulation. It's just unreal what they can do now with these figures. And I think if we're thinking about, if they made something like the N1 Starfighter, and, we would want it to be in that TVC quality that we've come to know and expect. And would they be able to sell that is the thing. There's no regular, 3/4 inch line like there was, a decade ago. 20 years ago for the prequels, for the Clone Wars TV show. None of that exists anymore. It would have to be a TVC specific N1 Starfighter. And if it was of the caliber expected of TVC, they would have to price it accordingly. And I think that'd be some of the concern there is, would they be able to profit? Would it be profitable to do that? And, this goes to a question that I saw here in the chat about Paul. Would they retail from Paul? Would they retail that N1 as a Pulse exclusive? So this is really hard to say. Again, I think it depends on the demand, and we're seeing a lot of things right now with price increases just across the board with not just toys, obviously, but everything. So we would have to expect that if they did do something like this, that there would be price increase that, would probably be to some extent unprecedented. And, would there be enough people willing to pay that in order for it to happen? And I think that's one of the big challenges with them right now. Anthony, what do you think? What do you think a vintage collection modified N1 Starfighter would retail at?
Well, I was getting ready to ask was it the last Naboo Starfighter, the resculpted one that came out with the Hero,
Movie
the
Heroes.
green packaging, Heroes line, was what, like $30 or something like that.
30.
So
yeah.
I think it's I think 50 minimum.
I think we'd be looking at 100
for that. Really?
For the N1, yeah.
Well, because with the blue X-wing was what, 110.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, and that was a repack. That was just repainted. So, we'd be looking at, it did reach out $30, that N1 Starfighter. It's an amazing piece. It's also super lightweight, and it's also 90% molded in yellow plastic.
Right.
Mando's Naboo Starfighter, modified Naboo Starfighter, if they produced it and made it to vintage collection standards, would require a lot more paint. It would need to require more features. It would need to require more sculpting intricacies. It would need to be interactive with, completely with figures. And if you consider that vehicle, the Naboo Starfighter, it's longer than the X-Wing, I believe, but it's not quite as wide. If you consider what those proportions would kind of look like, and the fact that this would need to be a new sculpt, the fact that this would be a highly detailed piece, I would expect, and inflation, of course, I believe that, if they were to sell it right now, it would probably be at least $100 is what I would guess.
Well, yeah, and it would probably be an exclusive, because I can't remember the last time I saw a ship just in regular retail, because the X-Wing was Target. I see like the play sets in Best Buy every once in a while, but they don't even have shelf space. Well, I mean, there's no ships coming out anyway, so there's just seems to be no regular retail market for any type of ship. Everything's an exclusive nowadays, so it'll be an exclusive. So it's like, I don't know if it'll get to $100, but it's going to be pricey.
So why don't you guys write in the chat, would you pay for $100 for a vintage collection quality Mandalorian's N1 modified Starfighter? Yes or no in the chat, and we'll pull you guys and see what you say. There's 30 in here. Let's see what you guys have to say.
Well, what's the price limit for it, though? What's the echelon? If it's
$100, just $100 flat, $100. Right. And consider that it would be the vintage collection, right? So it's going to be of the quality of things like what you have behind you, Anthony, the troop transport, things like the skiff, things like the paint that we see on the X-Wings. We'll see. And a brand new sculpt, right? That's going to require some investment. I don't think it would be an exclusive, only because it's going to be a new sculpt. I think they would have to, try and maximize sales on it as much as possible. But include a carded figure, maybe, right? And then you'll get more people to buy it. A special carded figure.
Another or the what's the mechanic's name in Masai?
Telemoto. Yeah. It'd probably be a repack if the other sets, like the play sets, are any indication. Maybe they could do a stormtrooper, just a plain stormtrooper on a Mandalorian
with a holster.
Card. with the holster, with the articulated ankles, on a Mandalorian card. That would be brand new. I mean, in terms that hasn't been offered. So if you throw that in there, sweeten the deal just a little bit, would you get more people to buy it? So let's take a look here. So we'll go through here, and maybe you can help me count these, Anthony, as I read through them. Collector 1970 says, no, I would not pay $100. Mile High Ground says, yes. Justin says, yes. Paul says, yes. Enzo says, no, not for a ship I have no connection to. Okay, fair enough. Jason says, I wouldn't want to, but Hasbro could charge $199 and someone's going to buy it. True. Collector 1970.
So was that a yes 60. Or a no?
I don't know. Jason, you'll have to clarify that one for us. Evan says, I'd buy it twice. Yeah.
All right. That gets 2 yeses.
Yeah. We'll give one of them to Jason. How about that? Star Killer says $100. I'll take 2. Stuart says, I'd wait for season 3. Maybe he modified it more. Could be. John says, I would buy one for $100. Pico B1 says, you would have to have the pit droids. Ooh, that'd be a good inclusion.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of parts. That would be really cool. Classic Swords, says if it goes on sale. That wasn't the question. Super Sources.
That's what everybody does.
It's what, Well, I buy extras when they go on sale is what I do. I'll buy extras. Super Sources, I would not pay that, but I'm only kidding because apparently the only one who isn't wild about it, kidding aside, 130 sounds about what it would cost. Okay, it could be 130 as well. Paul says, time of carded Mando and loose Grogu. No, we got plenty of those. I don't think I'd want any more for a while. Mark says, I wouldn't, but you're correct with the pricing. Still hoping for the return of the Razor Crest. That is gone. That was a HasLab. We're not going to see that one again. Acid for Blood says no. Jason says, his wallet says no, but that's all of us in here.
Yes.
That's all of us.
Right?
Yeah, that is a bona fide yes. Star Killer says pit droid would be so cool. Definitely need that. And Justin says maybe the whole hangar with stretch goals. So I don't think this would work as a HasLab. I don't think it's big enough to be a HasLab. I think this would be when Mando season 3 comes around. This should be a mass appeal type thing. Everybody loves Mando. Everybody loves Grogu. He's the central focus of the Filoniverse so far, if you want to call it that. And I think that if you're going to have one person ship, that's not the Razor Crest, because that's come and gone, not only in the show, but also, the actual toy. It would have to be the N1 Starfighter. I think it's a good bet it's going to happen. Whether or not people would be comfortable with paying what it's going to cost is another story entirely. So, Anthony, I trust that you tallied all these up.
Well, I mean, if I count the double ones, it's 6 no, 11 yes.
Okay, so that's promising. Not everybody voted, and that's fine. So more yes than no is my takeaway here, and I think that's a good indicator. Of course, I think most people here also collect vintage collections. So, would you sell to people who buy Black Series? I think you would. There's a lot of toy photographers out there. There's a lot of people that love these shows. Would you sell to people buying, something for their kid that loves spending $100 on a ship that loves The Mandalorian? I think that's a possibility too. Christmas, birthdays. Would you appeal to more casual collectors that just want to have it on their desk at work? I think, quite possibly. I think anything Mando, anything that ties into him and Grogu and, his story could work pretty well. So I certainly hope we see that. I think that we will. It's just going to come down to, what does it cost? How long do we have to wait to get it? And, what is the execution of it? Does it have pack-in figures? How do they handle the whole thing of it? But I'm confident we'll get it.
Or maybe not a convention exclusive, but the e-tailer exclusive. Entertainment Earth and all that.
I don't see that happening either, because the amounts that they purchase from Hasbro is this small compared to what Walmart and Target and Amazon are doing.
I think at the very minimum that Entertainment Earth was pretty close. I could be wrong, but I thought I heard at one point that they were kind of rivaling, especially during the dark days.
It's pretty substantial, the gap. Like, even if you combine the big ones, Dorkside, Big Bad Toy Store, entertainment earth. It's like this. The big box retailers are
Hmm.
on a different level.
Well, I wouldn't know it. We got so many in the valley here. We've got 3 Walmarts and about a dozen Targets, and they get like 1 case of new wave of figures of either Black Series or TVC. That's it. It's like that they get 1 case per store, and this is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then some
Yeah.
little
It's,
place in the Midwest is overflowing with stuff. I'm like,
that's how it always is. And it's interesting because anytime I go visit my family in Texas, they, they have fewer stores and they're smaller cities, obviously, and well, where my parents live. But they oftentimes have a good selection. So I don't know if it's just fewer collectors. I mean, I'm in San Diego. We have Comic-Con here. We have a lot of competition for collectibles. I don't go to the stores every day. All it takes is them putting out a case. It sits on the shelf for 10 minutes. Somebody comes and snatches them. When I get in there, an hour later, it's because somebody bought them. I mean, I never have seen them. But there is a lot of competition. So I think that could be part of it. But yeah, that is an interesting observation because I have noticed that too. When I go to like travel and, smaller towns, like oftentimes I'll find things. I'm like, whoa, how is this just hanging on the peg here? And it looks like it's been hanging for a while. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So I think a little trailer dropped earlier in the week. Did you by any chance see it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was on set, and I happened to be on set with a bunch of people who actually worked on the show, and we were all we were all watching it huddled over our phones, and yeah, we were like, it was a lot of oh my gods.
Yeah. It's yeah, I'm really stoked. I know we've all known that this show has been coming for a long time now, and that we've been excited for it. Obviously, I think of all the Star Wars content that was announced, a year and a half ago, or whenever it was, Kenobi was like the one thing that I was like most excited for, and actually seeing them just randomly out of nowhere just drop the trailer on a random, in the middle of the week, I was like, whoa! And I was actually at work when this came out, and when I had a little bit of a break, I just grabbed my phone and I went and like watched it. And I'm like, whoa, how am I going to go back to work after seeing this? But yeah, I was really hyped for what I saw there.
Yeah, and I think yeah, yeah, definitely looks sharp, and great choreography. I mean, yeah, just gonna be. Yeah, I just can't wait to see how they're doing it. I love this. Can't wait to see that story of what Obi-Wan was doing all those years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely interesting. Um, just seeing like, what that looks like. So, the trailer, we start off here in this, on Tatooine, it's just desert. And, as it plays, you realize that this is Obi-Wan on Eope, right? And do you think, Anthony, this is the same Eope that Obi-Wan had at the end of
Hmm.
Revenge of the Sith?
Huh. You never know. Oh yeah. Oh, at the end. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, like it looks a little gray in the face, doesn't it? If you look closely, like it's like,
Hmm.
maybe this is the same Eope he's been writing for the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And then, we see him sitting over here on this rock, and then he zooms in with his macro binoculars and seeing that. What was your going through your head when you saw this moment in the trailer?
Well, it's the same of all the other when they're playing a little fan service on Book of Boba Fett or The Mandalorian. It's sort of like, okay, it's like, yeah, it's a little obvious to go there, but you're still like, all right, that's cool. It's still, it fills in just that simple like shot in reverse. Really, it really says a lot in two simple shots. It's like, that he's like he's just watching over this kid and just making sure that he's safe, and that's his mission. And yeah, just really, it's great. you know
Yeah. He did what he said he was going to do, right? He tells
Yeah.
Yoda at the end of Revenge of the Sith, "Hey, I'm going to take the boy and watch over him." And that's what he's doing here. He's keeping an eye on him. He's obviously, Luke's a kid. I didn't think we were going to see this in the trailer. I was confident we would see it at some point in the actual show, but for them to drop it in the trailer and say, "Okay, this is it," here's Luke, at the youngest age you've ever seen him in live action.
Right.
I felt was a little unexpected.
Yeah, no, nice surprise. And it's like there's an art to cutting trailers, and what do you say for a surprise for the show, and what do you want to tantalize the audience with? But and you're also trying to make a little story, and I think it was a good move to put Luke in there, and especially that he's like pretending that he's flying. It's what kids do, and it just says a lot
Right.
about like this kid growing up and his ambitions. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, no, for sure. Jason makes an interesting point right here. Thank God we know the backstory here. It gets real creepy quick.
Right. Yeah, I've seen some good memes already.
I have too, where he pulls his binoculars back and people are putting in dinosaurs and like all kinds
Yeah.
of crazy things he's looking at.
Or the one,
Um,
not this crap again.
yeah, I know. It's what do you think of the look? What do you think of his look at this point? So this is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Does Obi-Wan look as you would expect him to at this stage in the game?
Yeah, it's so weird, because Alec Guinness was still, he was, he was still trimmed, and he definitely kept a certain look about, a reserved look about him. He's definitely letting himself go, and just in terms of like being incognito. And I think it's, what, now that I say it out loud, it's probably very appropriate. It's like he's just trying to be as un-Jedi like as possible.
Yeah,
So
that I think that's a good way to say it, to phrase it is, un-Jedi like as possible. He's trying to blend in, right? People on
yeah.
Tatooine, whether you've seen the Book of Boba Fett, whether you've seen Return of the Jedi, and you hope people don't often look like they're going to Canto Bite, so to speak.
Right.
So he's trying to blend in, and that makes complete sense here. I think he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Not maybe not as much gray hair as I would have expected. But he certainly looks older than he did. Revenge of the Sith was filmed in 2003. So we're almost 20 years later. So I mean, he does look
Hard
like
to
an
believe.
older Obi-Wan for sure.
Yeah.
I know. I can't believe it's been that long either. And then we come to this interesting looking. We see this ship come to this interesting looking place right here.
Right.
Right. If you played the video games, Fallen Order, you may be familiar with this location. Were you surprised, Anthony, that we got Inquisitors in this trailer?
I was very surprised. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that I wasn't quite sure about, and some of the like in Rebels and all that, is having these other Force users or people wielding lightsabers. It's like because Jedi and Sith are sacred, and it's not everybody could do it. I mean, it's still fun, but it's one of those, like, again, it just all depends on how that's developed and how it turns out. Again, it worked. It worked well enough for Rebels. We'll see how it translates into the live action here.
For sure. And you did watch Rebels, I believe, if I
Oh
recall,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So what was your feeling then when you see this guy for the first time
Yeah,
in
I
live
know.
action?
I think about these things of like casting wise. I'm like, because it's like, because obviously I don't know the character's name, but he's supposed to be that particular character, and it's like it's just too big in the face. But they hire actors who will act the heck out of the scene, and who are also great to work with and have a certain stature. So it's like they definitely went on over the casting the actor rather than being faithful to the look of the actual character.
Right, which I think, makes sense. I mean, you
Yeah.
work in the film industry, so you know more about that than I do. I mean, that makes good sense from my perspective. They want it to be a good portrayal. I think it would be worse if you have a character that looks a lot more like the source material, but is a crappy actor, doesn't pull it off.
Yeah.
So, for all we know, people are gonna end up liking this more than, how it was in Rebels. So you
Like
never know.
if the actor pulls it off, everybody's if he does a good job in about a minute of his screen time, everyone's gonna forget about the fact that he's supposed to be skinnier, skinnier in the face. That's
Right.
probably what they're counting on.
Yeah, totally. For sure. What do you think Obi-Wan is doing here? Where is he going?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Refugee. I don't
I
think
feel
he
like
has
he's
a
going. He's
speeder.
maybe going to. Yeah, I feel like maybe he's going to work. Like maybe he has a job in the city or
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
this is his way of going. Just kind of blending in. He goes to and from work, and then he goes back to his cave that it seems like he lives in. But yeah, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, it's like I wonder about the story. Obviously, not everything's going to take place on Tatooine because now we're seeing it. That was my big question. Like, are they going to go off world? The question is Obi-Wan going to go off world at all? I don't think he can because he's got his task. But be interesting if they do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll happen based on what we see in the trailer. I think there's a good possibility he's not going to something's going to take him off Tatooine. And
Hmm.
what that is, what that plot point will be, who knows? But I feel like we will see him venture off world at some point. So we do see some of the Inquisitors here in action, and if you go back to Rebels, if you go back to Fallen Order, we do see different characters, different Inquisitor characters. Um, how do you think they're going to be portrayed in this series compared to what we've seen previously in Rebels and in the Fallen Order?
Well, it just sounds like the voiceover sounds, precisely about some stuff that I had been thinking about which, um, just a very focused hunt for Jedi. And I know that's what the Inquisitors do, but it was just so, just in the world of, in Rebels, it just seemed like it didn't feel as grand or just sort of like this is a galaxy wide hunt. It seemed very focused,
Yeah.
and in this it really seems like it's just sort of like that's their mission, and they could be anywhere, lurk searching and trying to exterminate the last flame of the Jedi.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting. This is for people like us who do play the games, who do watch, the animated shows. We're familiar with Inquisitors, but at large, the casual Star Wars fan or the person that's just watching these, because they're interesting shows, probably hasn't heard of Inquisitors or has no idea, what they're about. So the fact that the Grand Inquisitor doesn't look like he does in Rebels isn't going to be an issue. And they're going to learn about Inquisitors here for the first time, quite possibly. So I think we'll get a little bit of background on them for those people that are watching these this way, and I think we'll learn a little bit about their program, how they become Inquisitors, and I think we'll get some backstory there. That because we do need to catch people up that maybe aren't hardcore fans. Also, how cool does this city look? This brand new planet or city that we've never seen before.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole trailer, like, it's just, well, that's the thing about the series in general. Like, the composition of every frame is a work of art.
Yeah. We have this vehicle right here. I think somebody said this is the one the Inquisitors possibly fly around in.
Yeah.
Maybe people will want that in TVC at some point. Who knows? It looks pretty big. Could be a pretty big vehicle. So I got a question for you, Anthony. I feel like troopers pretty well. This right here, is that a stormtrooper or is that a clone trooper?
I'm pretty sure that that's a stormtrooper. It looks like I have to look close because it's so tiny on my phone here. Yeah, I. Well, there's another one outside. They're stormtroopers.
Yeah, this one is tricky for me because it almost looks like it has like paint on it, like blue paint.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a shadow.
yeah, and from like the back, like the legs just look like the cutouts are more like clone looking, if that makes sense. I could be
Yeah.
totally wrong.
Hmm.
I love how you're looking checking your figure to
Yeah,
make
I
the
know, right?
comparison.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be interesting if there were clones, but but I don't know. My gut feeling is they're stormtroopers because we see them in one of the reverse shots anyway. Walking behind the Inquisitor.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of
And
stormtroopers
and
in
what's he
this.
holding there? Is he holding it at E11?
Yeah, I don't really know. It's hard to tell what exactly if it is a gun or if it's like something else. Um yeah, hard to say for sure. Um but yeah, I guess we are going to
and
get the spinning lightsabers, it looks like.
folks, I'm always wrong about things, so it's probably a clone trooper.
Yeah, Collector 1970 says that looks like the 501st. So could very well be. I mean, assuming that there may be flashbacks in this series, it's
Hmm.
possible we may see clones. Who knows? Who knows? I think the Grand Inquisitor looks a little bit better here than earlier in the trailer.
Hmm.
The spinning lightsaber. I don't know if
Right.
I want to see him
Well,
using it as a helicopter.
if they're not as strong as a normal Sith, they need all the help they could get.
Yeah, and those definitely are some pretty wicked lightsabers,
Yeah.
probably for the Inquisitors themselves. Um, is this the same Inquisitor we see in Rebels, the fifth brother?
Yeah. I'll bet it is. I mean, they designed that hat for a reason.
Yeah, I think it's a fair bet that that's probably who that is. And again, that city just looks really, really, really cool. Really, really cool.
And it just
Um,
always astounds that it looks so good, and it's all computer generated, most of it.
I know lots of neat moments in this trailer. I mean,
That
I'm just
shot in
really excited.
particular, that move is just so graceful. I love it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, me too. It's really neat. I'm really looking forward to this show. I think a lot of us are excited. Ewan McGregor coming back, Hayden coming back. And it's going to definitely be a return to form if you're a prequels fan, because you're going to have that time, but you're also going to have modern Star Wars. I think it's going to be kind of like if what the Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, that sort of vision of style, and merged it with the prequels. I think that this is going to be the result of that. I think for me that's a really exciting idea.
And I'm wondering, well, I I think my expectations were a little muted a little bit, but Luke's snow speeder, Luke's land speeder should be making appearance. They like brought it, they had it there on location. So like I was trying to pause or figure out or guess like what it was doing, if it was just going to sit there, if maybe Obi-Wan was the one who sold it to the Lars family, or what. But hopefully we'll see it well enough that we get a reissue of that.
Yeah, no, totally. I love the land speeder. The vintage collection one is awesome, and I think if they brought it back, probably a lot of people would be after, and the fact that it already exists is kind of a good thing too. Would
Do you
make it
think it
easier.
was a tad small? Like I have, it's like I like it, a lot. It was very detailed. It just seemed like it was still a little bit like, yeah, under sculpted a bit.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. It's
Tell me
I
that
don't.
I'm wrong. Just like, but
Well, you know what? How about this? Let me grab it real.
no. Uh-oh. Hey folks, if she just here we go.
Yeah, I want you to go grab it. It's
Yeah,
all you.
okay,
You
good.
got to hold the fort down.
Yeah, I know. I was like surprised. I'm like sitting there like, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the vintage collection land speeder.
Oh yeah, no. That's yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it's pretty decent in size, I would say. Maybe, like everything in TVC, as far as vehicles go, it's probably a little undersized.
I love that you
Um,
had that handy.
I have the Lars Homestead diorama over there, so this
Oh,
is part of it. And yes, I do have the 2004 VOTC Luke in there because he's the one that sits in here the best. That's the only reason he's in here. But yeah, I enjoy this quite a bit. I know the Black Series one has like the opening hood and some other stuff, but I think for this still holds up. If they wanted to repack it today, change the packaging. And I always really love these collapsible wheels right here that it has, so that you can make it look like it's either floating, or even when the wheels are down, it looks like it's floating. So that was always a neat feature for that land speeder. All right,
that's the only spoiler that I could offer. Luke's land speeder was there, so.
Nice. Just take a look here at the comments. So our caster, first time watcher, heard good things about Victoria and her nod to Star Wars. Oh, well, thank you. That's really, really sweet. I'm sure Anthony knows more than I do. Can't wait for Kenobi and how the Inquisitors will be ruthless. Yeah, I hope so. I certainly hope that we see some very intense Inquisitors. I mean, you got to consider the fact that they didn't sign up necessarily to be Inquisitors. They kind of were forced to. If you go back and watch and play Fallen Order, that's one of the things that we learn, is that they're put in that position and they have to either make that choice or basically die. So they're not in a great position. They're kind of doing it because they have to.
And they look laser focused on their goal too. They look like they're ruthless.
Yeah.
Now
that's
the thing, even in this trailer, and a shot of like the 2 or the 3 of them, just the little bits that they're in, like nothing against Rebels, which I absolutely love, but they made them, they're more layered and complex characters, but there's only so much you could do in animation, and here in live action, it's sort of like, I'd be afraid of these guys. I wouldn't want to have to see them walking down the street and have them even remotely think that I'm of any interest from them. So, to them.
Yeah, no, for sure. They're going to be intense. They're going to be ruthless. They are going to be driven at hunting down these Jedi, because if they don't deliver, they probably get killed or something. It's not like they're going to just lose their job, right? They're probably going to lose their life if they can't, be good Inquisitors. So they kind of have to deliver the, results there. Collector 1970 says that looks like the 501st. I think that refers to the clone that we were looking at in the trailer, or Stormtrooper that we were looking at in the trailer. Classic Swords. Maybe we see some Purge Troopers in live action. That would be interesting.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'd love to see some of those. I'd love to see like the Scout Troopers, with the batons, and some of those other, Fallen Order focused kind of troopers. Those are all really cool designs. Go Gadget Inquisitor helicopter. I hope we don't see that. I really don't. When that happened, and that was such a great episode of Rebels too. You had Maul, you had Vader, you had Ahsoka, and then you have these Inquisitors that just like take off on these flying like lightsaber helicopter things, and I was kind of like, was that really necessary? Was that really necessary there? That kind of like took me out of it a little bit. Collector 1970. Do you think he took General Grievous' ship to Tatooine? If so, do you think that we'll see it? That's possible, because if you think about it, Bail Organa intercepted Obi-Wan while he was flying Grievous' starship. And right when we see Obi-Wan talking to Yoda saying, hey, Yoda's going to Dagobah, Obi-Wan's going to Tatooine, they're on Bail Organa's ship, right? So that would make sense. He could have very well taken Grievous' starship. I hadn't thought of that, but that's actually
it's a great point.
Yeah, so he could have it like under a tarp somewhere out in the desert where Jawas aren't going to find it, hopefully. Or maybe they already did, and it's going to be one of those things where he goes to try to get off planet, and he's like, oh, the parts are all gone.
Or maybe he sold it to Watto.
He sold it to Watto. Could be. Paul's Collectibles. Hey, welcome.
Hey, Paul. Hopefully. I'm supposed to. We're hopefully gonna have a beer together tomorrow.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, cheers, guys, and have fun. Starkiller says Vader start chopping their limbs off if they don't deliver, then heads. Yeah, we can't have that, right? You're Inquisitor. You got to be serious, right? You got to do your job. Otherwise, you're going to lose your arm. Mile High Ground. All right, got to hop off to work on some SWTVC March Madness stuff. Today's voting is still up for a couple hours. Great chat tonight. Thanks for having Anthony on. He rocks. So you rock, Anthony.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah,
thank you,
thank
so
you,
much.
Evan. Hope to get you on to one of these live streams in the near future as well. And yeah, guys, March Madness. Certainly go to Instagram and vote. Like I said earlier, Time for Tonica. I think she already lost to Chopper, but that's how it goes, right? Yeah. So yeah, definitely go vote. And I have been copying some of their stuff on the Vintage Collection Podcast Instagram. So you can find it there. Also, just go to SWTVC is probably the best thing. But vote, definitely vote. And also he says, final thought, hope Kids Turn Wild show up. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. That'd be wizard.
Do it like they did Book of Boba Fett. You know, I just love the fact that Cammy and Fixer, was it Fixer?
Yeah.
That was them. There's no question it was them.
No, it was.
They didn't draw attention to it. I just love that.
Yeah, I love those little things that aren't, too on the nose.
Right.
They're done where if you're a Star Wars fan, you may recognize them, but if you're not, they don't detract from the story because they're there, so that was a really cool little thing that they threw in there. I love that. Starkiller says Vader will start chopping off limbs. Okay, I think we looked at that. Paul says, gotta be honest, there are no room to screw up this Kenobi series. I would love to see some great surprising stuff and make it good, please. I think it'll be good. Based not only on the trailer, but I know that there's so much to live up to with this series. I know that they went back and, they kind of put on hiatus because, they wanted to rework it. I think it's going to deliver.
It started out as a feature.
Yeah. And then Solo came out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm misremembering some of the stuff that I had heard from more direct sources. That was it Solo directly? It was something else. It's sort of like at a certain point, something was not turning out well. Like there was a Boba Fett movie. There was an Obi-Wan movie somewhere in the works, and something changed. And I don't, and then I don't know if it was specifically because Disney Plus was planning to do series and they reorganized. So it's like it's hard to know exactly what. But both Boba Fett and Obi-Wan did start out as features.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, 6 hours of Obi-Wan versus 2 hours of Obi-Wan. Give me the 6 hours. I'll take that.
Yeah. Is that all it is? It's six episodes?
I believe so. It's a limited series. I believe it is 6 episodes. But yeah, still 6 hours potentially. For me, that's pretty exciting. And I think Solo would have also worked well as a series too if they wanted to.
Oh, another spoiler that I could offer up, and I hope I don't get killed or banned from Star Wars from this. Flea is going to be a character in Kenobi.
From the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yep.
I've held his base before.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah, in North Hollywood. That's all I'm going to say about that. I got to hold his base. Yeah, no, he's cool. That's interesting. And I think that's actually one of those things that it's not too on the nose. And I think he could blend in there. I think that could work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for that tidbit. That's cool. Mm-hmm. So Enzo says, I got a real kick out of the rabbit droid in Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, I loved that. I know some people thought, some aspects of Book of Boba Fett were silly. That whole Jabba's Palace thing where he's chasing the droid in the kitchen. That's the kind of thing I live for as a Star Wars fan, is just seeing like silly things like that where, their droids are entertaining. You have that droid in the kitchen with all the knives, and Fennec just comes and like basically like slashes his neck. And then I love how the rabbit droid just like surrendered and turned himself off. That was so good. Yeah. I love that stuff. Justin says, is Solo that bad or just the actor don't look like Harrison? I love Solo. I don't know about you, Anthony, but I love that movie.
It was fine. I didn't hate it by any stretch. There's a lot of great stuff. It just felt a little safe.
It
But
was very safe for sure. They didn't do anything that would really like tarnish Han Solo as we knew him. There was a thing of his name, right? There were the little
Mhm.
tidbits about his parents not really being in his life.
Mhm.
But it was very safe. I'll agree with that. But I just enjoyed it as just a pure, like, fun Star Wars ride. It didn't take itself too seriously. It had characters that we love, Han, Lando, and it also had some new characters. And I think just the chemistry between all the main actors in that film was really solid. And I really enjoyed that movie. I really wanted to get a sequel to it.
Yeah, no, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. It's, I can't pick it apart. I'm gonna get killed. Like Rogue One, like Rogue One, the second half of that movie is just like outstanding. I'm just like but like the first half, I'm like story wise, I'm like why is she even in jail? It's like why, it's like maybe we should see, So, but with Solo, it was like it's just a solid enough story. It's very straightforward, and you know, uh, a lot to like about it.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed it, and I know we're getting the Lando series, so potentially we'll see more Lando before too long, and that portrayal of Lando.
Yeah,
Um,
and
would
he's
be,
and he's phenomenal.
he is
Yeah,
Donald Glover's phenomenal. Yeah,
yeah.
as a musician, as an actor, yeah, love him. So yeah, I hope we get that and we get to see that. I mean, that probably next to Kenobi, that'd probably be the second, like other than Mando season 3, that'd
Hmm.
probably be the other one that I'm like most excited for at this point.
I'm looking forward to Ashoka. That
Ahsoka's gonna
see
be
where that.
awesome
Yeah.
too. Yeah. And similarly, a show that could potentially have flashbacks and maybe not just to Clone Wars, but also possibly to Rebels. Who knows?
Hmm.
You never know what you're gonna get with these shows. Could be
Yeah.
something interesting. Supersaurus is one of those awful humans that says he fell asleep during his first viewing of Rogue One.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hey, it happens. You work a long shift, you go to a movie, and you're like, no. Well, to me, it's not happened, but I assume it does happen. Omdom says the galaxy shouldn't have to be saved in each movie. That's why I like Solo. The stakes were small. Yeah, I think that's a good point as well. It was a heist movie. It was very the story was very central to these characters. It wasn't something that had like wide-ranging ramifications for the galaxy. Of course, there was the bit, with the Cloud Riders, and that kind of tied into, things that happened later in the original trilogy somewhat. But by and large, yeah, it was a very self-contained film, and I think that's why it works as well as it does.
Yeah, and the stakes are the stakes, and the stakes could be small on a scale wise, but like personally for the characters, that's really what makes it count. It's like if the whole thing with Han Solo and the love of his life, those are the stakes. That's what really grabs you and pulls you in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The characters, right? The characters and their chemistry with the other characters, and yeah, for sure. That cast I just felt like was solid all around. I really enjoyed it. Everybody that was in that. Superstore says he demands a Borgullet series. Maybe Borgullet will know the truth. Paul says Andor should be a good. I'm excited for Andor too because I'm hoping in my heart of hearts that we get more Ben Mendelsohn as Director Krennic in that
Mhm.
series. That's what I want to see. I want to see Ben Mendelsohn back as Director Krennic.
And in spite of all this, I still love, the reason why I'm such an Imperial enthusiast is because so the rebels have somebody to fight, and conquer. So I'm like excited about like delving into hidden, more hidden rebel bases and other things that they're doing to thwart the empire and the best that they can. That's compelling storytelling right there. So I'm
Yeah. No,
definitely looking forward to see what they're doing on that.
for sure. For sure.
And I
Yeah,
think, and I think overall for the TV series, like, I mean, it's just tighter storytelling. They're taking their time. They're not trying to throw too much stuff in, and it's just very, very simple, effective, um, you know, characters. It's just
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. No, totally. Collector 1970. I think that beeping sound was Cad Bane calling Toto. Yeah, why didn't we get Toto in Book of Boba Fett? Where was he? I would
Hmm,
have loved to have seen him. But I know
hmm.
that, you have this really scary character like Cad Bane, and then if Toto came hobbling along, it may have diminished him a little bit,
Hmm.
but it worked pretty well, I felt like, in Clone Wars. For as awful as Cad Bane is, he still has this little he treated Toto awfully, obviously, but he still tolerated him, which I thought was funny.
Hmm.
Um Yeah, and he also says that if what if when Ahsoka finds Ezra, he is turned bad by Grand Admiral Thrawn? Who knows? Anything
Hmm.
goes at this point, right? We just don't
Hmm.
know. Jason says, "Oh man, seeing live action Ahsoka with Hayden as Anakin might break me." Yeah, that could be interesting. That could be interesting, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm really excited for Kenobi is that possibility of flashbacks to the Clone Wars. We got all these seasons of the Clone Wars over this, several years. And, we got all these stories that there's just no way to have told them all in live action. And to see, some sort of tie into that in live action, I think could potentially be quite a moment if it actually happens.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a total pleasant, exciting surprise to see Grogu have the Grogu flashback with the purge. Like that sets up for anything is possible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Anthony, we've been going on 2 hours now.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
it's, yeah, I know. Time flies when you're having fun,
Huh.
as they say. What's been going on over on your channel, the Imperial Communique?
Well, I mean, look, I just wish I had more time, but I was about to start because I've got I'm trying to do another time lapse setting up my revised army, and I have two more videos to go. One of them is going to be they're out of reach, a painting tutorial to just make shadow speeder bikes. Um, I wrote the script. I was getting ready to do that, and then the Razor Crest showed up, so that's what I've been working on. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to refine it, working on some music cues, and then I was like looking like again, I'll reference my friend Jeff from Jeff Omania again. He pointed out that the Grogu Pram has that little clear stand. Those fit into the carbonite blocks. So just so you could just have them floating or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I need to incorporate that into my videos. So I was just reshooting a little thing today. But so it's going to postpone things, and I want to take out not to spoil two things too much, but I'm going to take the Razor Crest and a Sandcrawler out to Vasquez Rocks and do a little photography there for the video too. So, getting there. I'm hoping to have it in about 2 weeks, upload a new one.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I love seeing everything you have to do over on your channel. And of course, you share a lot of this on Instagram, and your stop motion and the voices are often awesome as well. So, great stuff. We will have links once this episode ends and then it publishes to YouTube. We will have links to Anthony's page here on YouTube. So definitely subscribe if you're not already. And Anthony, where else can our viewers go to check you out on the interwebs?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, YouTube, obviously, I have my channel, and then Imperial Communique and Instagram. Uh, Same thing in Twitter. But the only other thing that I want to mention too, and that's the other thing that's taking me away from the channel, is I'm putting together a live action trailer for a movie I wrote. It's called Hallex. So if, on Instagram, if you watch, look for Halix_movie. It's Alex with an H in front of it. It's like a little, I have a poster and I have some stuff, and I keep trying to update little things as I try to get funding to have it made eventually. But that's the other thing that's going on in my life and takes me away from doing more channel videos.
Right on. I just checked and I was already following it. So cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Of course. Well, no, thank you, Anthony. It's been fun, and always fun to chat. And I know we love Star Wars, and we want the best for these Star Wars toy lines. So hopefully, everything we talked about, hopefully somebody out in the galaxy is listening, and will take some of our thoughts and ideas to heart. And yeah, let's do this again, and we'll get you on Cantina Chatter too, one of these days soon. And
yeah, I'm glad it worked out. I was I was supposed to be working yesterday, and there was a COVID test mishap, and that it didn't communicate I needed to test, and it knocked me out of a couple of days. So I happened to be free, so it just worked out great.
Nice. Well, we're glad that it worked out for sure. Thanks again for coming on. Thanks to everybody in the chat, everybody who's been hanging out with us for the last while here. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being subscribed to VC and for liking and commenting, and definitely appreciate the interaction with you guys. We love doing this on Friday nights. It's Friday. It's the start of the weekend for a lot of us, for me for sure. And I need this interaction with you guys and with our awesome guests that we have on these on Cocktail Hour. So next Friday we'll be talking to Anthony's or not to Anthony. You're not on again next week. I wish you were as well, but we'll have you on for sure again at some point. We got Jamie Stangroom coming on next week from the Geek End YouTube channel. He produced the Stormtrooper that bumped his head documentary a couple of years back, which was incredible. And it'll be his first time on Cocktail Hours. I'm really excited to have him. So stay tuned, guys. I got a review coming up as well on Monday, and more stuff on the way. So we appreciate it. Thanks again. Thank you again, Anthony, for coming on. And may the force be with you guys. And we'll see you real soon. Be well. Be safe. Take care.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.